Yeah, for this recording is that I'm going to critique a past performance of mine. This was in senior year of high school, so 2020 for me. And it's just a solo competition I was working on. Not sorry, it was a solo for the competition that I was working on. That I happen to have a recording of. So I'm just gonna go through this and kind of director's commentary style go through this. Sorry for it being so late. I hope you don't hate me. Anyways, so the first thing I immediately noticed with that one is those low notes kind of surprise me because I still struggle with a lot of the low register now. And to me, on that recording, like obviously things have been kind of smoothed out. As I'll mention later, I can't really hear any of my specific articulations, so I can't really say much about that. Um, but yeah, those low notes just come right out, which is very surprising to me. But I suppose since the whole section's loud, it kind of let me play a little more confidently with those ones for sure. I will say the vibrato. There's the one that the vibrato that I do have on those high notes could definitely be wider, and the low notes could definitely use some vibrato. But at this time, it was still kind of a new concept for me because I was actually taking lessons with Padnote at this time. So it was kind of, I was just starting on it, and so you can obviously hear it's not like fully formed quite yet, but it's got some good foundation for it. Another thing with this, so this is Larry playing with me because he was a regular of my school, Cheyenne, you know. So they would bring in three different people to play with us, usually the same three people, and he happened to be one of them. Which is very nice now that I can play with him potentially in college too. So technically, we've worked together before. Anyways, for a lot of the like middle kind of register, the not too high, not too low notes, you can hear that the vibrato's kind of just gone, which tells you again it's not very formed. It's kind of like fledgling. The idea isn't there quite yet. And I kind of feel bad for Larry in this performance because a lot of these notes that we have like together or something, or the new sections that I'm supposed to cue, I just don't cue anything. Like there's a video as well as the audio with this, and I can see I just don't move. So still technically something I'm working on into my college years, but I think it's certainly gotten a little better since this performance. So for that trill note, you can obviously hear it was a little flubbed. Trills during this time and any sort of like extra thing. Oh, what is it called? I can't remember. Any sort of expressive device, I think. I just could not do. I think it's still a bit of an uphill battle with me for like trills and things like that. But I've certainly gotten better since doing this one, and I can remember every time I saw a trill back then, it would always be like, oh, this is awful, and I wish I just didn't have to do this. So a lot of times I would just skip over them, and then during my lesson, Padnode would ask, he would be like, why didn't you just do it? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know. So certainly not my best, but oh, also the tuning I wanted to mention. You can hear sometimes it gets a little like flat or sharp, which like I put a tuner to it and it told me the notes, and those are like the regulars. The notes that are flat are the regular flat notes, and the notes that are sharp are the regular sharp notes. So I'm not surprised that I struggle with that one, but I can kind of hear that I match with the piano quite well sometimes, so I know at least I'm listening. So before I get into the cadenza, just want to point out another. The trill was kind of sloppy again, which would be expected, I suppose. I think there's a one of the runs was a missed note. Obviously, that doesn't like I don't think that one matters as much as like the actual technique of vibrato and articulation. I don't think notes in the moment really mean as much, but I do notice that sometimes there's like gaps and stuff, which if I remember, I worked on this one for quite a while. I was it was just like really nerve wracking, you know. So I mean that could be another thing I could talk about is the nerves with all of this. In this performance, we it was during COVID, so we usually would go out to Valley City for the solo competition, and play our solos there and things like that. But we couldn't do that this year, excuse me. So what we did is we just set up little mini concerts around the rooms in the school, mostly around the music building. So this performance was really only for um, Larry and my band teacher, pretty much. But I was still pretty. Oh no, actually they had judges there. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, yeah. So I was performing for pretty much five people. I was still pretty nervous, so still have to work on that because I still get pretty nervous during my performances. But I remember going in there and being just like feeling fine because I was more prepared because I had worked with Padnode with this for sorry I worked with Padnode on this. But I was still just so nervous. So, talking about the cadenza for a bit, that was, I think, the first one I've ever played. Yeah, I ever played. And I was really, really excited for it because Panda was like, yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. And I was like, no way, really? So, we worked a lot on that one with like slowing down and kind of taking your time. You heard in that one that I missed, like the first, sorry for the sniff. I missed like the first 5 notes or something like that, which kind of messed up some of it at least. Which is unfortunate because I remember I practiced that one like a lot. Like because I was excited to play it, so I was kind of just like unfortunate. But again, it shows the nerves of it all. I know for the next section after that I played, I was kind of lost for some of it. And I remember some of the other sections too were really hard to hear for me at that time. Like now I can hear that I get off with him a lot and he really has to follow me, which, props to Larry again, because a lot of these things I should be cueing him and things like that. And then I just stand there, which, again, at the time I didn't necessarily know how important it was. So, props for him. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to the ending because I have a little story about that one, I suppose, but here one sec. Actually, before I move on even more, I think that little scoop in there was not in the music, now that I think about it, because it's the same theme coming back, And I don't remember that from the first time I played it, so I feel like that was just an extra little note, but it really did work out in the end. That sounded very stylistic. Let me actually skip forward a little bit, because otherwise it would just kind of be a minute of this stuff until I got to something I wanted to talk about, so. Okay, so that's the ending of the piece, and for the longest time, I struggled with that so much. Like, we had to go over that and over that and over and over and over, and I thought I got it right because I got it right like twice before this performance, I remember, and it just it totally flubbed it. It's fine, As you can see, as you could hear, probably the trill got me off. I stopped counting, and then sorry, um, and then I didn't know where I was. And those big notes technically is me and the piano together. So again, like big props to Larry. He's great at following students. Very glad that he played with me in this one. But yeah, those big notes are all supposed to be together with the piano. Another thing I'm supposed to cue, looking at it, I did not, because I think now that I am thinking about it, in my high school brain, I was like, oh, but it's obvious what I'm playing, of course. He would know, which obviously is not true. So, just something that I noticed with that one. There's a couple skipped notes in this too because I flubbed them, of course, but I think that also kind of contributed to me getting off with Larry. I did notice that the articulation in this one, like the ones that I can actually hear, it's very just crass. It kind of shows how worried I was about this because it's very panicky, pretty much is what I would say. But other than that, I'm very proud of this performance because I don't know. To me, it sounds like almost college level. I suppose. So it's very nice to look back and see what I did as like an achievement, um, and see all like the hard work that I put into these things. And yeah, I mean that's the end of the recording.